It almost seems as if modern times haven't arrived in this area of China yet. At first glance, little has changed over the years in the villages of the barren high valleys in the province of Hebei. It's a 4-hour drive to Beijing. The Gobi Desert, the coldest in the world, lies a few mountain ridges away. Recently, the inhabitants have started seeing more and more cars with number plates from different provinces that are heading up the valley. Here, in one of China's most arid regions, one of the country's most modern ski resorts is being built from scratch. It's the Secret Garden Resort, a 5-star complex at an altitude of 2,000 meters. It'll have more than a dozen lifts over an area of 100 square kilometers. The Wang family have come from Beijing for an extended ski weekend. It's an all-inclusive experience. They only want the best and most expensive of everything, be it ski boots, helmets and skis. Then they need a ski instructor and a childminder. Everything's available through the hotel. The equipment and lift pass costs around 60 euros per day. The hotel room costs 3 times as much. Ski instructor Li is looking after the Wang family today. As for most of the holidaymakers, it starts on the nursery slope.
If you lose control over your speed, you have to know how to fall. Bend your knees and let yourselves fall to the side. Your bum should touch the ground first, never your hands.
That's the most important information out of the way. Now they can head up the hill. Mrs. Wang already has some experience. Her husband, a rich investor, is having problems. For an hour, he's spending more time lying down than skiing. Then he gives up and stays away from the slopes for the whole weekend.
Skiing here in northern China is the right sport. My husband works in the south on the tropical island of Hainan. That's why we go to the sea a lot. We like outdoor activities. I like the speed you get with skiing.
How safe does Mrs. Wang feel on the skis?
I still struggle in the curves, but I don't have a problem going straight or braking.
That's what many here believe, but often the self-assessment is a little bit out. As a result, interviews on Chinese ski slopes can be quite dangerous.
The guests have different requirements. Some come to have fun and to relax. Others want to learn to ski really well.
Very dangerous.
This woman clearly still has a lot to learn. The lifts in the Secret Garden Resort are for the more advanced skiers. Most of them even have heated seats. They were built by the Austrian company Doppelmayr. They're authentic. Chinese replicas have been built in the neighboring valley.
This is always a problem. This is like all other industry, like all other product. But what can you do? You cannot shut it down and then close them. They see it, they do it. But for us, it's a future risk.
And so, precautionary measures are taken.
The support structures which support the rollers and the rope are produced from our factory here in China.
Okay.
And then the rest are coming from Austria.
The nearby district town of Chongli has also borrowed from Europe, even though little here is reminiscent of the idyll of the Alps. The tourism managers aren't bothered. Their goal is to become the Davos of the East, and that's no joke.
We have many similarities with the Swiss town of Davos. The area isn't very large and the population is low. We invest in conserving the environment. We started late with winter sports, but we're developing all the more quickly. As a town, we're unique in China.
Chongli is to become the alpine tourist center in northern China. Massive hotels and apartment blocks are being built to that end. Prices are still reasonable. If the vision becomes a reality, those who invest here today will become rich. The plans are to develop further ski resorts in 8 neighboring valleys by 2020. Without artificial snow, skiing would be almost impossible here because of the dry climate. The sparse rainfall of the summer is stored in water reservoirs. That's not enough for the snow machines, and so the groundwater is used, taking it away from the farmers. Back at the secret garden resort, we meet Ye Xiang. He's the man with the big visions and the fat wallet. Mr. Ye and a Malay investor want to turn the entire valley into a gigantic wellness and ski resort.
We have big plans. Our project aims at bringing in 1 million guests per year. At the moment, we're getting around 100,000.
700 million euros have already been invested. That's a fraction of the expected total cost. The investor has no doubt it'll all pay for itself.
More and more Chinese people travel to other countries as tourists. They consume, but what China has to offer can't satisfy the demands of the consumers. That's why we're investing in tourist sites that are of international standard, but here at home, so it has huge potential.
It's the same idea, a 4.5-hour flight to the south. China is dreaming of its own Hawaii, on the tropical island of Hainan in the South China Sea. The Chinese version of Honolulu is called Sanya. There are already around 1,000 hotels here on China's southernmost coastline, which is warm enough for swimming even in winter. More than 40 of the hotels are of 5-star caliber. Why did you come to China?
Because it was too cold in Salzburg.
Has it worked out?
Look around.
Gerhard Fink is the head of marketing in Sanya's best hotel. He came to China for the first time for work 12 years ago. Apart from a few breaks, he stayed. For professionals in the hospitality industry, China has become one of the most attractive locations in the world.
China ist auf der Überholspur im Moment und Sie können dabei sein. Da ist eine Nachfrage dabei. Das heißt für unser
China is on the fast lane at the moment, and you can be part of it. The demand is there. Our industry can develop and grow. At home, we can't experiment so much with this volume. We have the masses here. If you have a good idea, then it'll work, and you'll have the numbers to implement it.
A lot of things can be implemented with 11 million tourists already coming to Sanya every year. 9 out of 10 are from the Chinese mainland. In the years to come, the visitor numbers are to triple, says Mr. Sheng, a manager at Sanya's tourist board.
Chinese tourists are to enjoy our service at an international standard without having to leave the country. Sanya is to be an oasis of happiness for our country's population.
Mrs. Huang has a different story. It's not one of an oasis of happiness. It's about a very real nightmare.
Look at the beautiful homes. They're demolishing all of them. These people are cruel.
Hired heavies entered her house and beat up the old woman. Then they threw all of her possessions and the altar out of the window before starting to demolish the house.
Our house has looked like this for 2.5 years. When the monsoon comes, everything's flooded.
Nobody here has any doubt about who sends the heavies. It's the powerful real estate investor who's developing a marina behind the quarter to be demolished. He needs space for that, which is just taken away from the long-established population. Mrs. Huang's nephew says they have been living here for 7 generations.
They wanted to throw us out of our houses for years, but we don't want to go. We might go, but then they'd have to replace our houses like for like. Then we'd be happy.
This hasn't happened so far, quite on the contrary. The company still sends in heavies, the municipality police officers. Many houses have been torn down. It's just a matter of time before the last residents of the quarter have been expelled and luxury flats have been built. For yacht owners with fat wallets. All this is happening in the dark, behind high fences and advertising billboards, away from the tourist hotspots. Hardly any visitors to the tropical island get to see any of this.
If you're newly rich or political leaders, whoever you are, forget your social status. We just want to travel together and have fun.
Relaxing, the guests are almost ordered to. This tourist bus is bound for a tropical park in the mountains of Hainan. Those who are expecting a quiet experience in nature have picked the wrong destination, or rather, the wrong country. Tourists are ferried here by the busload. A duty for every stop, regardless of where the people are on China's tourist trails. The obligatory photograph. If nothing's happening, it gets boring. Hence, there have to be attractions on the walk through the jungle park. Some people are here for something completely different anyway.
We argued.
That's why we bought a ticket to Sanya. The trip is to help our relationship.
We wanted to get to the sea, and Sanya is the best place for that.
A quick purchase of a souvenir and the excursion into the tropical paradise is over again. Onwards to the beach, which is quite crowded. At least, there are things to see here. Now it's time to hurry. Those who want to book water-based activities can't hesitate. The places are limited. Stays here last just 45 minutes.
We don't travel a lot, no more than once a year. We mainly want to relax.
Wife Li also thinks everything here is relaxing. She thinks it's a picture book beach holiday.
Children love playing in the water. I like it here too. I work hard and need relaxation. It's best not to go too far. That's just exhausting.
Mrs. Lee isn't bothered that the beach is overcrowded and the program tight.
The European guests want a place on the beach to relax, where they can hear the waves and have a good time. Chinese people do that for 2 hours max, but then they want to know where they can go and where they can shop. What's happening? What's the program? Can I attend a cooking course?
Speaking of eating, that's particularly important to the Chinese. The hustle and bustle continues in the evening at Sanya's restaurant mile. Peace and quiet and resting, that would be a holiday gone wrong for most Chinese people. After a busy day on holiday with a full program, a loud restaurant is perfect to relax Chinese style. Do the Chinese relax differently to us in the West? What about the need for peace and quiet and privacy? We ask Li Yuan, a psychologist researching the leisure behavior of her fellow countrymen.
The concept of relaxation has a clear cultural component. Unlike in the West, the Chinese like it when it's loud and lively. Eating and singing karaoke together, for example. That's the best way for Chinese people to relax, even if it's loud and chaotic.
But in China's overcrowded cities that are in the clutches of smog, noise and traffic, and that have a cramped housing situation, there are those who do care about quiet and mental relaxation. As a result, yoga classes are enjoying a great popularity.
Consumption is on the increase in China. The price for a growing standard of living is more stress at work. Young people in cities are getting more and more stressed. They struggle to cope with that, so they come to fitness clubs or go to yoga to get balance in their lives again.
But often it looks different. When hundreds of millions get moving on public holidays, then the locations of Chinese mass tourism become places of anarchy. Complaints about Chinese tourists that behave poorly and don't queue, who don't respect the environment, or who immortalize themselves with their names on Egypt's oldest monuments are increasing. The authorities are worried about China's image. There are campaigns to invite tourists to promote China's reputation in other countries. Most recently, the National Tourist Board published a 64-page code of conduct that sets out precise behavioral rules. Don't spit on the ground. Don't pee in the pool. Pay attention to no smoking areas. Don't defile monuments and don't sleep on park benches. That all sounds sensible enough, but some of the rules are absurd. In Spain, female Chinese tourists are to wear earrings to avoid the impression of nakedness. This group in Hong Kong is demanding that the brothers from the mainland stay where they are. The organization calls itself Hong Kongers First. They're proud of the British colonial heritage and openly exhibit examples of the rowdy behavior of Chinese tourists.
Since the British returned Hong Kong to China, millions have come from the mainland every year, destroying everything. They push up prices, they heed nature's call on the street, they block the entrances, and they give us a bad image. When visitors come from the West, then they believe that these people are Hong Kongers, but they're not like us.
This angry young man isn't alone with this opinion. Quite on the contrary.
Chinese tourists are making everything more expensive here. Rent and real estate prices have gone up. We're totally powerless. We can't stop them from coming here. They bring their culture, which is different from ours. The problem is the different level of education they have compared to us.
More than 35 million visitors from mainland already come here every year. Hong Kong is the most important destination for Chinese tourists away from home. The city of 7 million inhabitants is part of China again now, but is separated from the mainland by a highly guarded border fence. Chinese visitors require a visa to enter. If that weren't the case, many say the city would long have been overrun. Chinese tourists aren't really welcome here, but their money is still popular. Every year, Chinese visitors spend 12 billion euros on shopping here. Hong Kong is a shopping paradise without VAT. Luxury items are significantly cheaper than in the People's Republic. The Western temples of luxury are so popular that customers are now seen in batches.
How much have I spent on shopping? 5,000 euros so far.
The Zhang family are visiting Hong Kong for the first time. The couple from Sichuan province are particularly interested in jewelry and electronics. They don't have a set budget. They'll buy what they like.
The shopping malls back home are big too, but the quality is better in Hong Kong, and so are the prices.
An hour away by hydrofoil, vast sums of money are spent. The casino city of Macao has become the biggest gambling city in the world. The 35 casinos in Macao generate 4 times the turnover of all of Las Vegas. 30 billion euros in 2012 alone. In the coming 3 years, the plan is to double the turnover. The gambling giants from the States have come here too. They can make big money here, whereas back home, life is getting increasingly difficult for them. This is what the world's largest casino looks like. The Venetian Macao, 4 times the size of the original in Las Vegas. It's a replica of Venice in subtropical southern China that hasn't left out a thing, not one. "300 shops over 9 hectares entice visitors to shop. There's virtually no brand that's not represented in this temple to consumption. No casino in the world has a higher turnover. The Venetian is also home to the most profitable shopping mall. Measured by square meters of shopping space, no other location generates higher profits. Like all of Macau, the Venetian is banking on the fat wallets of the mainland Chinese, and that's a bet that's almost impossible to lose right now. The gambling space measures 50,000 square meters, and the visitors play for big sums. The minimum bid at many of the tables is 100 euros and more. The visitors here are merely average Chinese tourists. China's super rich who gamble here remain anonymous. They gamble in the top stories in private rooms. It's no secret that a lot of money from shady deals is gambled here. Our interview with the management has been cancelled at short notice. This place clearly doesn't want a reporter to ask questions about financial matters. Mr. Lee is here with his fiancée. It's not their first visit. He likes gambling, but he's careful. He wants to gamble around €1,000 in the casino.
If you come to Macau without going gambling, then you weren't really here. If you win, you take the money and go shopping. That's part of it.
Another attraction besides the casinos is the old Portuguese colonial town. Even though much is mere facade these days, the European heritage only covers a few blocks. The Portuguese handed Macau back to China in 1999. Today, 30 million tourists come here every year. The vast majority come from mainland China.
We come to gamble, but also because of the European flair. It's easier to come to Macau than to visit Europe.
Su Xiaolei has come with his parents from Yunnan province. The last time he was here was 13 years ago. He likes what he sees.
Macau has really developed quickly in recent years. The hotels and restaurants and everything else are of international quality.
More than 80 million Chinese people have been on holiday in other countries in the past 12 months. During that time, they spent far in excess of $100 billion. That's significantly more than Americans and Germans spend. Even in China itself, the tourists are spending more. Skiing is one of the most exclusive holiday entertainments. We're back in the mountains of northern China in the Secret Garden Resort. Mrs. Wang calculates what this weekend ski trip cost.
The hotel rooms aren't cheap. For 3 nights, my family paid 20,000 yuan.
That works out at around €2,500 for a short trip to the mountains. The Wang family has no trouble affording that. In recent months, they've also been to Australia and Tibet.
You experience a lot on trips. You experience different cultures and landscapes. We really love it and want to do it more.
The Chinese, a country with a population of more than 1 billion, are going on holidays big style. Their new affluence makes it possible. China's growing middle class finally wants to enjoy it to the full.